How are you all doing? This is Martin from Gardens for Life and Birdland Homestead. Today we have another live questions and answers session, and you can ask us any questions you like about homesteading and gardening. So we'll just kind of take it easy for the first few minutes, and we'll just see if we can get a few more people to join. In the meantime, I might actually show you a few videos, and I have a couple other bits and pieces to show you. My face looks a lot more red than it is. Maybe it's down to the contrast on this their action camera, and it's not the best in this kind of lighting condition, but I think it's a lot more ambient rather than me turning on the big light. So could you let me know in the chat whether or not my sound is okay? If you could, that would be a huge help. How are you doing, Bianca? How is my sound? Is it loud enough? Is it too loud? Or can you hear me okay? We have a new microphone on its way because the adapter for the regular microphone broke. All right, great. We're using the microphones on the camera itself now. This is actually just the action camera. Great. We've got 5 people watching. We're actually on several different platforms. Okay, great. Thank you for letting me know. How are we doing, Colin? So we're actually on we're streaming this live to our Birdland Homestead channel as well. Let me just get the link for that, actually. For those of you who haven't been to our other channel on YouTube. Let me just take a look here. We do have a homesteading channel now as well. And I'll be posting up videos there that are not so much about gardening, but also about food preservation and about animals and about backup power and lights. A lot of different related topics and events as well. Here's a link for those of you who haven't been to it. All right, so it's getting very warm in here actually. I must turn off the heater. You can see the panel, hang on, right here. See this panel over here on the other wall? That's actually the panel for the diesel heater. We've used kerosene in it. And that's turned it off now. We also use our thermostat as well, which we'll be making a video about soon. So at the moment I'm a little bit too warm in here, so we'll see how we get on. Better than being too cold. It's very well insulated, this studio. So we're going to be talking about all sorts of different topics today. You can ask me questions about starting a business or anything related, and even the running of a business or the operation, and the difference between marketing and sales and production, which is actually the only 3 things you really need to know about when you want to start any kind of business or run any kind of business. So we also keep chickens as well, and we've got cats and dogs and rabbits and all kinds of little animals like that. We also have a homestead. So for those of you familiar with our place, it's just a 1 acre site, just over an acre with our house, and we have about 1.5 acres of a garden along with that as well. We started with lots of little gardens around our house. Don't mind that fan now, it's just turning itself off now in a minute. We started with lots of little gardens in the house and started the bigger garden a little bit later. We made the most of our space here that we have in among the mature trees that came with our old farmhouse. It was actually a farm built in 1938, and we made use of all the little spaces that we could find to make lots of little gardens, and those are all available to watch, actually, even to look at pictures of those under projects on our website. So we've got a few people watching now. If you have any questions, just type those in the comments below or into the chat on whatever website you're watching this on, and we should receive those questions here. We can, if you could just ask any question you have, start it off with question in all capital letters on the chat, just so I know that that question is meant to be for me to answer. The dogwood, it is the cornice, but it does not bear fruit. It's just the irregular one. I'm glad you already spotted that on the website. That's only been added actually just before this broadcast. We do let me show you here. Hang on a second. I'll just share my screen with you. Give me a second there. So this is actually our Birdland Homestead channel. I just want to show you the new, that's the new dogwoods that we've just added. For now it's just cuttings, but we'll have plants too soon. But it is not Cornelian cherry, so don't mistake it for Cornelian cherry. If it was, we'd be very happy, because you can actually graft Cornelian cherry, which produces fruits, really nice fruits actually, and I think they should do okay here in the UK and Ireland. You can graft those onto regular dogwoods. So I was thinking of doing a bit of guerrilla gardening and just grafting fruit-bearing scion wood of Cornelian cherry onto all of those ornamental bushes that were planted all over the place by the councils of the country in public places, like on the side of roads, or I guess probably not the best place to eat fruits from, but in the parks, for example. And we've also got a new plant here called just a perennial borage. And these are actually, it's a clumper, so it doesn't spread, it only clumps. So the plant basically in 2 years it got from one little start to maybe about 2 or 3 feet in diameter. And it's a nice plant. Definitely one to have, because borage is, generally speaking, not a perennial. It's actually just an annual, and it's quite short-lived as well. So it's handy to have these. Let me see here. All right, we've got a few people watching now. We've got 14 people watching now. We may be setting a new record today now. I think the last time we had about 16 at any one time, but we did go about an hour the last time as well. We may not keep you here for an hour. We'll see how it goes anyway. It does usually pass quite quickly, but not the easiest task for me now to just keep on talking while being entertaining enough to keep you here. How is the sea buckthorn doing? Which one? We've had sea buckthorn for many years, but we've got a few different cultivars now. We found that they all bear fruit here, all the female plants, of course. Sea buckthorn does grow quite well here, in Ireland anyway, and we are propagating it at the moment now. We have some male plants and female plants, or cuttings, on the go. And I actually brought some of my secateurs, and I also brought some cuttings to show you, for those of you who are interested, if you're interested, how to start some cuttings. We might do it after a while. Let's see if people are interested. If you want to know how to start a plant from a cutting, we do have videos on this too. Basically, free plants for life, I think it's called, or how to start plants from cuttings. That'll teach you all of the ins and outs. But if you want to know just a little bit about it, I'll show you in this questions and answers session. Sea buckthorn is a wonderful plant. If you want to know more about it, you can look up either PFAF, like pfaf.org. Let me just type that in here. And that is a wonderful website because you can find out anything about any plant there and whether it's edible or not. Excuse me. I got some dust here out of the secretary holster on my keyboard. So I actually got a couple of questions came in here via text message as well. Give me a second. So how do you deal with deer damage without investing in expensive fencing? That's a question from Alan in Donegal, County Donegal. And that's a really good question. I believe other than controlling them in other ways, I think fencing may be the only way. But there is one other way, and that is Sepp Holzer's bone salve. It's actually in his book. And it is basically just some bones that are boiled out of it into a juice, and that juice is kind of like a syrup, very sticky syrup. And the Sepp Holzer bone salve is then applied to your fruit trees, to the stems, like to the actual main stem, and it smells very bad to the deer, and they won't eat your fruit trees. It lasts for years and years actually, and it's really the only solution there is. And colouring, of course, will only work for rabbits, and it's all too much work really, especially if you're planting hundreds or even thousands of trees on your property. But another question I have here is what trees are best planted on raised bog for financial return and ecological benefit? How well will fruit trees or fruit bushes do on the same ground? Well, if it's a very wet ground, it's not easy to grow anything other than willow, because willows are almost like the cold temperate mangroves of our climate here in the cold temperate zone. They can basically grow in standing water, and I think, first of all, I would grow, if you're looking for something, a crop that actually benefits you in other ways, you can actually grow something that will actually save you money as well. Because if you save money, that's money you don't have to earn. So it's kind of like making money. So like, say, for example, willows or poplars, you could grow those there very easily. Alders as well, but willows will grow from cuttings very easily. And those will do very well as kindling. And kindling is the most expensive kind of firewood. I would highly recommend that you grow all the kindling you will ever need for the year first, and then look into growing firewood, because I think kindling is more important because it's more expensive by the ton or by the bag. And you can also grow various different other things. For example, blueberries would do quite well, but I have still not propagated those successfully yet. And I have still not grown those successfully, as in get a bush to actually fruit properly. They do quite well, but once they start fruiting, they do need quite acidic soil. So I believe, Alan, your soil up there near Bundoran is actually quite suitable for blueberries. So it could be something to look into. And we will go to the next question. I'm sorry, just bear with me for 1 second because I need to turn on the brightness on this camera before it runs out of battery on me in a few minutes, or even in a half an hour. All right. Now that should last for a lot longer. Even though the battery is, or even the camera is actually connected and it says it's charged, and it's still using more than it's getting from the cable that's plugged into it. So let me see here. Have you got any other questions? Any advice? So Colum asks a question here. Any advice on tree roots coming up through no-dig garden beds. Well, is that from fairly mature trees and far away? I'm wondering because that can happen. We have some alder trees and ash trees that are actually quite far away from our no-dig garden spaces or grow spaces. There isn't really any garden beds there, but still after a few years those trees have learned to tap into that compost, and unfortunately it does make life a bit more difficult. Really, you can't block big mature trees from rooting into your garden beds from underneath. I mean, you could put down a root barrier like maybe 1.5 feet around your garden or your garden beds, but that would be a lot of work if you put it like 1 foot or 1.5 feet deep. I mean, if there is mature trees nearby, you may be just best off not to plant a garden right next to them. But if you're out of space, or if you're just if you're very well sheltered in your garden by those trees, it's worth trying. But really, I'm afraid I don't think there is a simple solution to that issue other than a root barrier. Now, let me just take a look. How are you doing, Connor? Thank you for joining us tonight. Let me just have a look here. I can find some more. I'm sorry now, I'm just getting used to doing the live sessions again, and I'm not very good at picking up questions as I go and keep talking while I'm doing it. So we will see. Yeah, I see silver birch, yeah. I mean, with birch, actually, we're actually starting some birch trees now from seed, and they're a good wood, and they also have some really nice byproducts that you can use for bushcraft and lighting a fire. For example, the bark, of course, of the mature trees is perfect for starting a fire. I'm sorry, Bianca, I do not see that question about bamboo. Let me have a look here. Somebody also asked me from another channel about planting out frost-sensitive plants like the tuberous plants from the Andes, the oca and the yacon. And they're really something that you treat kind of like a pumpkin plant or even a courgette plant, or even, I guess you could say, keep them frost-free until I'd keep them in pots in a greenhouse. I'd start them off in the greenhouse and then plant them out when the last chance of frost is gone. Let's say the end of May, you should get away with it then. Maybe the 1st of June is safer depending on where you live. If you live near the coast and where if it barely freezes, I wouldn't worry about it. I'd plant them out at the start of May maybe. You can also plant those, they can volunteer by themselves as well. Oca does okay. The yacon is best taken up and stored, although I had an awful battle storing the yacon tubers or crowns this winter, actually most winters, because either they go rotten because of the moisture in the air. There's too much moisture. Even if you try to keep them dry, they can still go moldy. But also you have rodents after them, and then you have the frost out there as well. So you can't just keep them in a greenhouse. You got to keep them frost-free, rodent-free, and dry as well, and dark, ideally. So all of those kind of tuberous vegetables, even the potato, it actually applies to basically all of the root vegetables, including the oca, mashua, yacon, Jerusalem artichokes, all that, the whole 9 yards, which is actually how this entire Gardens for Life thing started, with the ocas and the mashuas, and I found out about those through permaculture way back when. By the way, for those of you who are aware, or not aware yet, there is another permaculture gathering in August, and it's going to be in Galway, in County Galway. So that's interesting. If you look up permaculture gathering, maybe Bianca could find a link, or maybe you can just look it up yourself. Sure, there's a page somewhere on the internet. We'll be there on the Saturday, and we might even give a few talks as well. Why not? and anyone can give a workshop at those kind of events. And we also have a seed and plant swap coming up again in May, at the beginning of May. We're going to be putting that out for you soon, in the next week or so. We're going to be publishing an exact date, and we hope to see lots of you there. The last time it was really good. The seed and plant swap went very well, and there was lots of people, and everyone had a chat, and everyone got to bring home some seeds and cuttings and inspiration to get started planting up their garden and starting some plants for the new season. So those kind of seed and plant swaps are brilliant for that. If you want to find out more about our upcoming events, we do have a plant propagation workshop coming up this Saturday, and a homesteading introduction course on Sunday. I don't want to make this into a whole big advertising now, but if you want to find out more about the seed swap, there's lots of videos of previous events too, and just go to gardensforlife.ie/events, and you'll always see whatever's coming up there. That's the most up-to-date place. And last service announcement. You can also join our email list, which is just gardensforlife.ie/subscribe. And it's free, and you can get updates. We send out update emails maybe 3 times a week. And usually if there's a new video out, or if you have a new event coming up, or if there's some kind of a special offer or a sale going on, which doesn't happen very often on our website. Nevertheless, it might be worth checking out our online shop, because we added a couple of more bits, and the winter selection is also soon running out as the season progresses and spring is coming. All right. Oh, thank you, Bianca, for that. There is a Facebook link right there. Oh, sorry, there's actually a... you posted it on Facebook. Give me a second now if I can... Oh, yes, no, I don't want to do that. I cannot copy your link without... Okay, well, for those of you watching this elsewhere, like YouTube or on our website, or even on Twitter, I'm just going to call it Twitter. It's, I don't know, X is not a great name. Sorry, Elon. I'll just type it out for you here, and you can go to their website, permaculture.ie, and you should be able to find the event there. Now, that's not our event, but that is a good event to go to. We used to go to them up to, it's been about 8 years since we've been to one. They haven't run them for a while. But our seed and plant swaps will be on twice usually, once in the spring and once in early summer. And we'll have a harvest festival sometime in fall, let's say maybe in September, probably the beginning of September, sometime around then, or maybe the end of September. And we are looking forward to including more homesteading and some running some workshops at our seed and plant swap next time. We're hoping to integrate it and build it up a little bit so that we have people can just basically learn new skills that they've maybe want to get a better idea of. And we can, if you want to run a workshop at our event, you can give us a shout. And usually we run these casually, as in for free. And we'll see if we build that up a little bit before we start our main event, which will be Homesteaders of Ireland. And we'll keep building the numbers, and we'll keep gathering up ideas. If any of you guys are interested in attending something like that, like Homesteaders of Ireland event, we'll go for a one-day event at first, and eventually maybe it'll be even a longer and bigger event. We'll see how that goes, and we'll have lots of casual workshops and talks at that event related to homesteading, for example, and gardening, and all things in between, even business as well. And as I said to you, you can ask me any questions you might have about starting a business, because I've done that, and I can give you my ideas. I have had some great mentors over the years, like Anton Kreil and Jack Spirko. Um, they have given me, not personally a lot of advice, but I've listened to their podcasts and watched their YouTube videos, and I learned a lot about all things business, like products and services, and production, marketing, and sales. If you have any questions, please let me know. One thing I wanted to talk about is some of the things that we're actually doing at the moment is we're starting plants from seed. It's still a little bit early, but the greenhouse is getting good and warm during the day. The only trouble is that some seeds are a bit finicky. They need good temperatures constantly for a couple of weeks, for example. Like even the temperatures dropping off at night time is not going to help them germinate. So some seeds are definitely best started indoors in either a heated greenhouse or or on a windowsill in your house, or even on a heated table. We have a couple of heated tables, but we have still not used those, and we just didn't get to that yet. For the garden, I've only gone full time on the gardening business and the homesteading 2 months ago. So I left my IT career behind. And if you want to learn more about that, I have a whole video about that on the website. And I am still kind of picking up projects that were kind of piling up left, right, and center while I was doing the job and the business at the same time. So the new growing season is approaching fast, and we are filling up both of the greenhouses now with plants, starting plants from seed and from cuttings. And actually, at our plant propagation workshop on Saturday, I'll be talking to them about that, any attendees, and we'll do a bit of potting as well. So let me see now. We got some questions in now. Any recommendations for outdoor tomato varieties? Yes, Black Prince tomatoes. They're a Russian variety, and they seem to do better in colder climates, like if the summer is not ideal. The biggest problem you're going to have, Colin, with growing tomatoes outside is that the leaves are really thin. They're actually related to the potato, I believe. And the potato leaves also, same as the tomato leaves, suffer of blight very easily. I believe they're just a desert plant, probably. Like we're in a dry climate, at least an arid kind of climate. And tomatoes really, if you can keep the water off them, if you can keep the rain off them, they'll do much better. But if you're going to roof your tomatoes outside, you might as well put them in a polytunnel, because the heat actually helps them too. But I'd love to try the Black Prince tomato, but there's also some other ones as well, which I'm not aware of. If anyone here can think of any varieties, please let us know in the comments. If you wouldn't mind, please give us a thumbs up on whatever platform or channel you're watching this on. It would help out the channel just to get more people to see the video. Thank you. I highly appreciate that. Let me just see. What other questions do we have? So there is Jack Spirko in relation to who I was listening to about business. Jack Spirko and Anton Kreil. Those would be my two mentors there. I'll type it into the chat here. I believe that's how you spell Kreil. He's a kind of a stock market guy. He's like an investor. Risk management is his business. And Anton Kreil has a really good video on top 10 tips on how to get started financially, really. And it's absolutely a brilliant interview. And they're actually traveling while he's doing it. He really simplifies the economy and all the different financial products that are out there, like insurance and retirement plans and all that kind of stuff. Basically, all very simplified and put all into one interview. Now, any experience with mushrooms? Well, actually, I've never taken mushrooms. I know what you mean, Sean. So we do grow King Stropharia, or garden giant, it's also known as, or wine cap, in our gardens. You can grow those on lasagna beds, like with fresh wood chips. The wood chips have to be less than a month old, otherwise other fungal spores will have inoculated it already. And the wine cap mushroom, or King Stropharia, they're the easiest ones to grow, especially outdoors, and without having to invest any major money other than a pile of wood chips and some spawn, which is usually sawdust or grain that's inoculated with the white fungi mycelium. Mycelium is simply the fungi or the mushrooms' root system. That's all there's to it. And I guess the mushroom would be the reproductive part of the fungi. And the wine cap mushroom is actually a really nice culinary mushroom. It tastes a bit like steak, so it's really nice. And I'm looking forward to having some of them again. We need to put some fresh wood chip in our wood chip island in one of our gardens. Just that's where we have them growing, and they could do with a feeding. They have not been topped up for 4 years now, and definitely a little bit of extra wood chip will grow mushrooms, but also block the creeping buttercup, which is settling in once more after I took them all out about a year ago. Now, let me see. What other questions do we have? If you have any questions, for those of you just joining, if you have any questions, please put those into the comments and put the first word question in caps, all caps, just so I know the question is directed towards me. You never know. I should be getting all of the comments coming in here on our broadcasting software. It's actually StreamYard. We're not being sponsored by them, but I think they're brilliant because their system really works now. We were actually with them 3 years ago, and it was okay. It worked, but it's working much better now and much faster and better quality. So let me just have a look here. Do we have any other questions? The broadleaf thyme. Let me just see. I'm afraid I don't know that. I can't answer that question about the broadleaf thyme right now. You definitely know a lot more. You don't know a lot more in Latin names than I do. Let me just take a look here. Yes, Sean, we did try to grow a lion's mane before. I do take lion's mane as a supplement. You can drink it in a tea. I used to do it anyway. I don't do it much more. You can basically improve your memory by eating a bit of lion's mane every day, or even making a tea from a little bit of it. But lion's mane is a really nice mushroom. It's meant to taste like lobster, and I haven't ever had fresh lion's mane mushroom before. But our mushroom logs failed. They dried out, unfortunately, and that was some time ago. We do have an article about mushroom logs on our website. It's on the Gardens for Life website, and if you type in mushroom logs, you should find it. There's only pictures. There's no video back in the day, and just basically how I put drill the holes, put those dowels, the mushroom inoculated dowels into the log, and then sealed those holes. And some of them actually grew. Of course, the good old turkey tail mushroom grew. That's the one we have occurring quite often in the wild here as well. But we were happy to have an old turkey tail mushroom log. So we didn't actually do anything with them because we had enough of it around the place. Okay, so we have a question here about an incubator. We don't have an incubator yet. We do have a fertile chicken flock. We do have a rooster with our flock, and that is because it, it actually helps to balance the flock, but it has other advantages too. Like if you ever want to incubate your own eggs, you have to have a rooster with your flock, and you can incubate. Probably, I would recommend to go with a branded incubator. Like everything else, you think you're better off to spend the money up front and buy something with a name on it, not necessarily just for advertising, but I mean like something with a reputation, and that other homesteaders or chicken keepers would recommend. I can't say I can't really give you a specific brand name recommendation for egg incubators, but I know it would be handy to have one that turns the eggs. You could do it manually too, and I found that the branded ones are really expensive now. They're like €200 for 8 or 9 egg model. 8 or 9 eggs may be enough for what you want to do if it's on a home scale, but when you think about it, not all eggs are going to be a success, but also it's going to take a month by the time those things actually hatch. And I'd highly recommend thinking about it before you get one. You can get the Chinese ones, and usually they're about 20 to 30 egg capacity. You don't have to use the entire capacity, but they actually cost very little extra at that point. The entry level with 8 or 9 eggs at €200 is too much money for me now. I wouldn't bother spending that. You can go with like a Chinese version of the same kind of incubator, and they're not quite as reliable, but they're meant to be pretty good. So if you're investing in one for life, I'd get the best thing you can afford. Same as any kind of tools. Do you have any questions about tools that we use on the homestead here? I mean, I use all kinds of different tools, including flashlights. We like Olight flashlights. They are absolutely hands down the best. And we like, you may think flashlights are not really a tool, but they are if you use them every day. Headlights also. LED lenser are the best headlights, in my opinion. I've had many different ones. We also have a small little one here. So, lights in general are one of my specialities, so let me know if you need to know anything about them. You can also get lights, just a headlight. I used to use the cheap ones from China too for many years, and they usually last about 6 months to a year. I've now had this headlight, the LED lenser one, for over 3 years, and it's still going as if it was new. The only thing I would recommend is to actually change the belt, but those are also sold out now too. Incubators are sold out, and headbands for headlights are sold out. Jesus, what has the world come to? So let me know if you have any other questions in regards to homesteading. What I could do is I could show you a video. Bear with me for 1 second. I have this video here that you may be interested in if you haven't seen it yet. So this is the garden that we started. Hopefully you can see that okay, and I hope it's not too shaky. So that's what it used to look like. There was a lot of grass here, and a wall, and a horse. That's not our horse. And lots of thistles, as you can see. And we brought in some compost, and we smothered the grass. Yeah, maybe a little bit slow, is it? So we brought in lots and lots of compost. As you can see, we already had smothered the grass here. You can see where the grasses are all brown here. We just had that covered with plastic for a few months in the winter. And in the summertime, it's much quicker. It's even if the sun is out and it's really hot, a month is probably enough to kill off the grass. But in a regular summer that we have here in Ireland, if it's not too hot, it takes 2 months. That's wood chips. We use those to cover the paths, and we get a load every winter, one for the house, one for the garden, and we just recover the paths. Now that was when we had moved some things around, and we moved the chickens also. That is going a little bit too slow now. It makes life a lot easier, and it just makes it comfortable to walk in your garden. So that's what the garden looked like after a year, and that's what it looks like about 2 or 3 years ago. And a lot has happened there since, and we have planted that up. These are the no-dig garden beds, which is now just a grow space instead of beds. That's the wood chip island, and there you'll see mushrooms actually growing under the trees. Usually that's where they grow first. Most of those mushrooms, Sean, like the wine cap mushroom, for example, it actually just it takes about 6 months to a year to really take off, to spread. And I put a bit of mycelium, a bit of spawn to start the mushrooms growing in different places in this wood chip island that you can see on the screen here. And so usually we get about 4 or 5 flushes during the growing season. That means we get mushrooms popping up everywhere as soon as there is a rain after it is dry for a week. Let's say if it's warm and dry for a week, then you get a rain, then you get mushrooms the next day. So you gotta get those and harvest them quick if you want to harvest them. If you don't harvest them, that's okay. Either the wildlife, unfortunately including the slugs, love them. But it actually, I figured if the mushroom does what it does, if you let it do what it's supposed to do, you're going to get spores coming out of the bottom of the cap of the mushroom, and they're going to go flying everywhere and inoculate the rest of your garden. So I think it's brilliant to actually just let leave some of the mushrooms and let them spread their spores. So that's a good thing for the local ecology, especially because the wine cap mushroom is a symbiotic mushroom. Unfortunately, we don't have any fresh spawn available at the moment, but we will be providing it again in the summer. So let me know if you have any questions about these gardens. I hope you can see that okay. I hope that's coming through. I know it's a bit shaky. I think it may be a little too much for it to handle here, but you can see here, that's the shelter belt, by the way, on the right hand side here. It's the willow. Got all these gardens here, pizza gardens. That's the pizza garden. You can see it's kind of a shape of a pizza, and it was quick and easy to set up. It took like a couple of weeks, and that's 2 months later. And I have a tour video. There's actually also a compilation of the pizza garden and 3 20-minute videos explaining exactly how it's done. That's the back garden. The chickens were helping with chicken tractoring to get rid of the grass. We also use plastic and cardboard as well. Now the plastic would have been taken away after the grass was smothered, and you can see that's like maybe a month and a half later is September. That's just the first year, and those have done very well. Most of those plants are actually perennials, and you can see now it looks like that. Although I do need to renew the path again this spring. You see that kale here in the foreground is actually Taunton Dean kale. That's our new favorite kale because it is both perennial and very hardy. The leaves actually stay quite good quality during the growing, or even after the growing season during the winter. So a lot of other kales now I found, especially chard, it doesn't like the old super cold temperatures. Like once we drop below -3 or 4, a lot of these plants, even the winter hardy ones, they give up a lot of their leaves. You can see a lot of those yellow flowers are actually kale going to seed. A few potatoes that I harvested. They're Nordic potatoes, so I don't really need any tools to pick those up. And we need to do more of that this year. And this year, Bianca, if you're listening now, this year we are growing a pumpkin patch. We've got fresh seeds, we've got old seeds. If any of you guys out there have some Oshiki curry or red curry Japanese pumpkin seeds, like these ones on the screen, please let us know if you have some that you saved yourself. We'd like to get some of those off you. We'll swap you for something off our website. Or if you're coming to the next seed swap, you can bring those in. Although it'll be a little bit late by then, I guess. The beginning of May, you should probably have those started soon. Yeah, so this is just the corn. Just going to come back to you now and see if you have any questions for at the moment. You have no questions. Nobody has any questions at the moment. Oh yes, we have one here. How much does it cost to get your hands on the wood chips? Let me see here. Finally got some free chips because of Nagan municipality again. So yeah, no, you can ask the county council. They don't do them here in Ireland. In Ireland, it's all privatized, so tree services companies are doing all the work for the electric company and for road clearing and that kind of thing after a storm. The best thing you can do is just talk to local arborists or farm contractors that cut hedges. Farm contractors or agricultural contractors, they're only allowed to cut hedges in the winter time because until the end of February, and from March onwards, it's because they're not cutting them because of nesting birds. But you can also get sometimes off tree services companies. Just give them a call, or maybe if you see them on the side of the road, you can ask them. Especially if they're doing a job near you, they might not care. They might not mind actually dropping those wood chips off at your yard for free. In America, I know you can get those for free oftentimes, but here in Ireland, in the countryside, you have to pay for them. In the city, probably not, because in the city they have to pay to get rid of those wood chips. And the only reason why they actually chip trees there and then on the side of the road or at a customer's house is because they take up less space. Like they can take down a whole bunch of trees without having to do multiple trips to bring those off and put them somewhere. Instead, they actually get to chip up all those trees. For example, trees that are either posing a danger to someone's house. If it may fall on the house, they get cut back. And those are the kind of expensive jobs too. But I found that it's actually really clean. Wood chips here in the countryside in Ireland, they're super clean. There's no pesticide in them as far as I know. And you can spread those in your garden or even make compost. If you get the wood chips in the summertime, they may contain the leaves. That could be broadleaf leaves or the evergreens, like the needles of the pine tree, for example, or even lilandi. We had lilandi wood chips, 2 giant trailers full, like tractor trailers, silage trailers for that matter. And we had those delivered, this was like 5 years ago now, and we made the wood chip island. That's the one I just showed you in the video there that you saw from the drone footage. And we planted our Kingstropharia into those wood chips, and it was not an issue. The only thing is, if it's softwood wood chips, or if it's like evergreens, I guess, or pines, people often say, would they not be too acidic for your soil? I wouldn't say so. As long as you leave it in a pile for a month or so, the needles go from green to brown, and then they should not be too acidic anymore to use. But I wouldn't be putting a huge amount of them on either. Like, I'd leave it for a while and then put it on. But that can be a bit tricky when you're trying to add a spawn, like mushroom spawn, for example. But in general, they last longer than broadleaf wood chips or branch mulch. And we found that broadleaf or hardwood wood chips last for about 2 years, and the pines, for example, or lelandis for 3 to 4 years. Yeah, wood chips are awesome. What will we do without wood chips? Bianca said to me one day, "How are we going to manage without wood chips? Like, what else can you use, or what else would you use to put on the pats, for example?" I said, "I don't know. I don't know what you'd put there. I mean, we usually cover the entire area with compost and then walk on the compost to make the pats, and then just put a sprinkle of wood chips on with a bucket. I think in the long run, we're going to grow a couple of acres maybe, or an acre of our willows that we have grown now in the gardens everywhere. We're going to use those for either wood chips for the pats, but also for biomass and make compost out of the wood chips as well. So in the long run, in case the mushroom farms are no longer able to or be allowed to operate under the government's rule on what they're doing to all these mushroom producing businesses in Ireland, well, then where are we going to get our mushroom compost from? Well, or any kind of compost. If you look at it, EnviroGrind and all those kind of composts, they're not as good, I don't think. We've been using mushroom compost for actually how long? Since about 99, since I'm in Ireland actually. So it's about 25 years now, and never had an issue. And we actually know the people that own the mushroom factories too, when they have done soil tests to prove that the mushroom compost doesn't contain any kind of pesticides or whatever. But in the long run, we'd like to produce our own wood, our own wood chips, and also compost as well. And I think if you grow a bunch of trees, if you have enough space for that, I guess you'd want probably at least 1 or 2 acres of willows, for example, and you come through and actually cut those. You may not even need to use a machine as long as you have a wood chipper. You can get a reasonably priced wood chipper for about €1,800 for a very cheap but professional model. So it probably is going to be 100 times more reliable than anything that's consumer level, like that you can get in for a house basically. I know it may be a lot of money, but we still don't have a wood chipper at the moment. I think it's better to just get the wood chips from somebody local, or somebody like a arborist, like a professional, rather than going through the effort and making it yourself. Same as the compost as well. Sorry, I'm looking up and over. I'm just checking how many people are connected now. We have 21 people watching this now on 4 different platforms. We're also going to integrate this on our Odyssey channels and our Rumble channels. We just need to get that hooked up. And we are really loving this premium level StreamYard, which means we can stream at full quality, even though it's just me that you're looking at, and we don't really have a moving background here. But maybe someday we can stream directly from the garden as well. Of course, I could use a mobile phone for that purpose, but I never make things simple because I do not have a smartphone, but I'm going to have to get one for various reasons, but not for the reasons that you think, but mainly for actually putting out shorts on the likes of Instagram. It's a shame the Instagram community could not join us tonight, because Instagram requires quite a steep monthly fee to upgrade the package to something that we can stream to. Let me just take a look. No, Bianca, when you say there's one more question, I don't know where that question is. Let me see here. Oh yes, Michael's question, is it? All right. So, Michael is asking, we planted the Taunton Dean, that should be Taunton, about a month ago. They were cuttings from your garden. Should they be taken already? Well, it depends on where you put them. If you put them outside, chances are the metabolic rate of the plants is still a little bit slow because it's still cold outside, especially at night time. If you're rooting them, I would root those into little pots first, like half-liter pots, and use some seed starting compost, because regular compost is too nutrient dense and it's going to rot those cuttings. So you're better off with seed starting compost because it's somewhat sterile. You can stick them straight in the ground as well, but as I said, you have a better chance of success if you keep the cuttings at a reasonable temperature, especially this time of year when it's still a little bit cold outside at night. And you need to put those into sterile, fresh seed starting compost. Keep them warm, but not too warm. But also keep them moist, but don't overwater them because that can rot them. But if you let it dry out completely, it may also cause damage to the plant. So your cuttings, I think you're better off to just watch. There's a video. I can get it for you. Give me a second now. Hang on a second. And I'll just show you our YouTube channel here. Now take a look at that. So you can see that. Look, it says we're live right here. I've never seen that before. Now, let me just see here. So free plants, we'll just type in free plants. Let's see if we can get it. So there's 2 videos that I would recommend watching. If you're unsure about how to start a plant from a cutting. This one here is more specific. Oh yes, on this browser I don't have a login, but anyway. So that video here is how to start plants, specifically kale, from a cutting. And you can actually see in the thumbnail there, you can see the kind of compost we use. The Classman substrate. All right. We have another question here. How far did Michael's Taunton Dean kale cutting travel? How many days? Well, that's a good question. Whereabouts are you based, Michael? And we can answer that question. Straight into the ground. So Michael planted those kale cuttings directly into the ground. They should be okay. You'll see if it should take about up to 2 months for them to root. And you could give them a little bit of a tug and see if there's any resistance. If there is, there's roots down below. And if it goes black, it's unfortunately a fail. Those kale cuttings are generally speaking fairly hardy now. You can cut them off fresh when you get them in the post. Those are always, any cuttings at all that we send out, we cut those off fresh before packaging them, just to give them the best chance. And some of them are even wrapped as well, but not with kale. They are actually in an envelope that does not lose moisture. So yes, he's based near Strokestown, so that's actually very close to us here, so it probably didn't take long at all. If it was in the post, it would have been 1 day. In general, any kind of kale cuttings would be fine. It should be fine anyway for up to 4 or 5 days at least in the post. Oh, let me just see. Oh, somebody else here has a question. You very kindly sent us some free seeds with my order. You're very welcome. Briefly, any advice on the holy basil, the great mullein, and kale seeds? So any seeds that you're planting, plant those in a tray first with seed starting compost, and plant them just very barely below the surface, or cover them very lightly, about the same thickness as the seed itself. So some seeds do need light to germinate, and you may need to check to see which ones there are. There isn't very many of them, but I don't think any of those three are that they would require light. I think they'll be fine as it is. Great mullein, you can grow multiples of each plant in each tray, in each cell in the tray. And it's something called multi-sowing that Charles Dowding once said. And he actually always uses that technique, and it seems to work much better than all the other techniques because plants will space themselves as well. So just see. I wouldn't worry about using a light or heat, but I would keep those warm, same as any other seeds, to start them off anyway. In a greenhouse it may be a little bit early yet because the nighttime temperatures, at least here in Ireland, are still quite low. So I think if you are only starting a few plants, you could start them off on a windowsill in your house. And I would highly recommend that you use some kind of a tray or a soil blocker that separates your plants. So rather than having them all in one tray and then you pulling them apart, you're better off to actually have them in separate compartments in your seed tray. That way, they'll do better after the transplant. I'm just checking to see if there's any other question. I don't think there is now. Well, I hope you enjoyed. This broadcast. Let me just take a look here. Oh, look at that. Michael left another comment. By the way, the willow cuttings we planted last year have been fantastic for my bees. They're really good pollinator food. They create a copious amount of nectar that comes from the catkins, and it's in early spring, like just right around now for the next 4 weeks or so, I believe. And it depends. Usually the climate is changing quite a bit, even though I'm not advocating for the term. Let me just see here. Yes, Classman seed starting compost. That's what we use. You can get it from Fruit Hill Farm in Cork by. And willow cuttings are actually still available on our website. The last few are going out now in the next week or so, in the next week or two. And if you'd like to avail of some willow cuttings, we do have thin ones and thick ones. And you can get those on our website as well. It's let me just give you a link. I'm so sorry I did not actually prepare that one. We also have some other new products on our website, and we would highly recommend we would highly appreciate your support. And if you have any other questions, just send us an email to contact@gardensforlife.ie, and you can get those answered the next time. So every Thursday night we're live here at 9 p.m. And I see there's one more question that has just come in from Bianca. What would you say, let me see here. What would you say to someone in how to start their own nursery? Well, that's a good question. You don't really need any money to start a nursery. Really all you need is ambition and a secretaries. You can start plants from seed or from cuttings, and I'd always recommend that you grow whatever you want for yourself, and you get good at actually growing at plant propagation in general. Propagation just means how to multiply plants. There's various different ways, and for example, seed or cuttings or vegetative propagation, where you take a sample of the plant and then you grow another plant. So you can start small. I always recommend that you start any kind of business or venture small first and see if it works, and if you like doing it, and if you do, you can expand it from there. And you can Also go to Seed and Plant Swaps if you want to get started and if you want to talk to people. People often have plants in their gardens that you can take cuttings from, or family and friends may have some also in their gardens. You can check. In terms of business, I can talk to you about that next week because we're running over an hour now. You if you want to avail of our propagation course, you can sign up on our website under gardensforlife.ie /events. There it is. So we do have a couple of events coming up, a homesteading introduction as well on Sunday. So there's still spaces available for both of those. And please let us know if you have any questions at all. And if you want to just take a look, if it's worthwhile, starting a nursery, I can tell you it is. And we can all collaborate. Like, there's no harm at all in competition. We can all collaborate, starting as many plants and creating an abundance. That's what it's all about. And hopefully we can share those plants and those experiences at the next Seed and Plant Swap as well. And yes, thank you for watching, and we'll see you the next time. And don't forget, keep on gardening. See you later. Bye-bye.